The Clarity Act. It advances. We saw XRP, it ran up, briefly, and then it all fell apart. And it gets people wondering, are these things really important? Should we even follow them? And my buddy Billy, the XRP cowboy, did a video yesterday that was really good. He says, well, why didn't we see a big run? Well, nothing actually happened in terms of getting this bill into law. It's just advancing. It has a better chance of passing, but it doesn't structurally change anything at this point in time. Look, the way I look at it, it's not about the hype of the day that this becomes final and the president puts his signature on that page, on that bill, and signs it into law. That's not what's important. It's what it allows going forward. And I think it's pretty analogous to the court case with Ripple. When they won, yeah, the price went up a little bit right away as people got excited. But what it allowed to happen from that event, why it mattered, is now Coinbase can list XRP, Robinhood can list XRP. Globally, you have XRP on more markets. And now we sit here today, a little bit of a bearish time, a down market. XRP is at $1.40 and not, 40 cents. It has made a difference, even if on the day of that announcement, we didn't see a huge pop. It's going to be the same thing with Clarity. I'm sure the price will run up. It's a bullish day, but that's hype and speculation. Once banks and institutions are now safe to start adopting this technology, that's foundational. And you see the price rise up even in bearish times like right now where things are suppressed a little bit. You're going to see a higher floor and then you're going to go to higher highs because there's real utility there. People actually using and needing the asset and the technology, and that's really the difference maker here. Let's take a look at this. XRP's price action, what the analysts are missing here, and I think there is a big tell. Regulatory clarity isn't a sentiment story. It's not about the hype of, yay, we got clarity, let's all buy a bunch of XRP. It's a structural unlock. And so what happened when we saw the Clarity Act advance? Out of all the cryptocurrencies, the major ones, XRP outperformed them all. That's telling. What's going to happen in the future? What asset is this most important for? And it's not about just, is XRP a security or not? We already had a judge rule that. It's, can these institutions adopt this technology with confidence? That's the game changer. It's about adopting this technology to solve global and trillion-dollar problems. That's why this really matters. And I think that is an indicator, a very small one, but an indicator of what will be a very large growth narrative in the future here. Really, there was some big crypto news last week, most of it good, even though, prices kind of regressed a bit. One of the biggest was Ripple's massive $200 million deal. And what it really shows, because it's going to expand their ability to give credit for people for crypto, but beyond just crypto, not just XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, bonds, equities. They're going to expand into all sorts of different asset classes, and eventually it will all roll back to the XRP ledger. More transactions, more value, and that's what this technology is about, being able to take a stock, a bond, a dollar, a yen, and put them on the ledger and be able to trade them in real time anywhere in the world. That is foundationally what this technology is supposed to do from day one, not simply move an XRP from point A to point B. It's much bigger than just that. Strategy, they returned to buying. I think they bought $255 million worth of Bitcoin, said they're shooting for 1 million Bitcoin total. And that's bullish, of course, because you got a big buyer of crypto. But there's two things that really bother me with that. Number one, for the long term, is they're spending more money that they can't afford to service or pay off ever. They don't have the cash flows to do so. And beyond that, they're the biggest buyer out there right now, right? Because they're borrowing like wild and throwing it here in the market with kind of reckless abandonment. And so a lot of times that signifies the top. There's no one behind them that can match their buying. So you notice strategy continuously top, 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 top. They're always buying the top. And it can be at least a short-term signal of that. Tether freezing $344 million for Iran sanction evasion. Why is this a big news? Well, people say, what do we need crypto for? Why do we need XRP? Yeah, it's fast, efficient, all this stuff, but it's volatile. Just use dollars, use stable coins, use all these currencies that are being tokenized. Well, you see why. Because almost every major stable coin gives the ability to freeze or to seize or, to mess with. they do not have the same properties as a cryptocurrency, a non-debasable cryptocurrency. You can't print more, you can't seize it. If you don't, not your keys, not your crypto, right? That shows us the long-term value. Beyond that, even if you don't have the technical ability to freeze on chain every token, well, they're holding in custody a dollar that really is the value behind that token, and they could always take that away, or maybe they steal it or whatever. It doesn't have the same attributes as pure crypto long term. There's always going to be a need for cryptocurrencies. Now, back into the strategy stuff. I always focus on simply the risk for the common stockholder. The fact that, things get bad, they're going to have to sell Bitcoin or sell more shares, and it's going to reduce your Bitcoin per share, which is all you care about if you have that company. Well, we had a CoinDesk article that says not so fast. There's big risks to the preferred shareholders that are getting paid this percentage back, and it's very analogous to when we look at like Terra Luna, where it was all great when you were getting your yield, when you're getting your payments, but when everyone ran for the door, it all locked up forever. And you can really get in this bad situation, especially if we have spiking rates in the treasury market. They're going to have to raise the yield on this very dangerous investment much beyond 11.5, which means you plan on having to service these preferreds at a certain dollar amount, and now it's going to escalate, which means you have to sell more Bitcoin, and it creates this doom cycle. Beyond that, it's a very illiquid market. So if everyone wants to sell, not only is there no market for strategy to issue more preferred stock and get money to buy more Bitcoin and stay ahead of this curve here, but you're going to see that value crater in the preferred stock. People just aren't going to want it. They're not going to trust it. And as soon as that trust is broken again, you don't just sit it out and, hey, we'll reset it later. Like, it's broken. And we've seen this many times, whether it's platforms, whether it's different yield instruments, when people no longer believe that, oh no, we can't get our principal back, because that's the other thing. There's no maturity date where you just sit it out and, all right, fine, the bond matures, I get my money back. No, it's forever, so you're locked up. And if they don't believe they can sell that on the secondary market and they're not getting their interest payments, this is going to be very disturbing to people. And it's all about confidence in that instrument. Are you going to get your dividends? And if you want, can you get out? And when that breaks, it's going to be structurally bad. Plus, they're leaning into preferreds because they probably can't raise money on the open market. They can't sell their common stock like they could before. It's dilutive. So they're getting in a spot where if it breaks with preferreds, they don't really have a good mechanism to raise funds right now. This is dangerous for everyone involved, again, over the long horizon. Now, this market may rebound with clarity and adoption, and you're going to see prices swell, and then Michael Saylor will look like a genius. Well, that's in the short term. You have to do this forever. It never stops. He can never stop, issuing debt that he can't pay back. He can't stop issuing preferred. Like, this is a never-ending cycle. And right now, times aren't that bad in crypto, and he's already under pressure. What do you think is going to happen if we hit a long-term and sustained downturn? And he's issued a heck of a lot more debt out there, during a bull run, because he can only borrow at the top. That's when the excitement is there. And again, this is very concerning for me over the long horizon. I did this poll today on X. Let me know down below in the YouTube. I like to hear from you here as well, a little different audience. But I said, would you invest money into MicroStrategy's preferred stock? Do you trust it if you wanted the cash flow? That's the type of thing you were looking for. 66 said no. 33% said unsure. And no yes vote now. But let me know down below what you think. Now, I didn't cover this enough yesterday. I ended the video really quick, but I want to talk about this. People aren't seeing structurally how big a deal this XRP ETF will be again over the long horizon. And I'll argue, it's not about the hype of the announcement. It's what this does to the supply over a long term. It's going to make a big difference. Right now, 1.35 billion has been absorbed in 6 months. You can't trade it. You can't sell it. It's locked up. Now, people in the ETFs could start selling. We could have outflows. It's not guaranteed. But when you're in times of bullishness and you're having inflows, it's taking a bunch of supply off the market. XRP does not have as big of a market share as we see with Bitcoin. But if we still extrapolate growth in a similar proportional scale to what we saw with Bitcoin, we could be looking within 24 months, 5 to 15 billion assets under management. XRP pull off the market and locked up. That's going to have a big difference in supply. It could be much times higher as you get clarity and people are using this technology. you could see a lot more XRP being sucked up out of the market, and it could be magnitudes even higher than 5 to 15 billion. But that's going to have a difference on the price of the asset. This capital typically is not going to trade. It sits in custody vaults, pulling XRP off the open market. And these investors are typically stickier investors. They're investing for the long horizon. They're making a long-term investment. They're not some buffoon on Coinbase that's panicking over, moves up or down a little bit here. And so with the fixed supply, demand is accelerating. Also, utility demand, ETF inflows are quiet mechanisms that really most people, I don't think, are fully pricing in. It's going to make a big difference. Let me know what you think down below. As always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.